Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're tackling something that literally affects absolutely every single one of us. We're talking about our time, our focus, and honestly, how we make decisions every single day. We're drawing from an incredible article by Roya that unpacks a shockingly simple strategy used by none other than Warren Buffett. It's called the 5-minute rule. And whether you're struggling with a mountain of personal goals, or maybe you're managing a team that just spends way too much time in unproductive meetings, this strategy is designed to completely transform your productivity. It's a real game changer that forces clarity, and I absolutely cannot wait to guide you through exactly how it works. But hey, before we get into the actual mechanics of the role, I want you to take a second and honestly reflect on your own habits. Seriously, ask yourself, are you trying to do too much at once? Like, if you look at your to-do list right now, does it feel like this never-ending scroll of obligations? For most of us, the answer is a resounding yes. We kind of wear our busyness like a badge of honor. But what the source material points out, and what we all eventually feel deep down, is that taking on too much simultaneously just inevitably results in scattered efforts and a really frustrating pile of unfinished tasks. You put a tiny bit of energy into 20 different things, and then at the end of the week, nothing has actually crossed the finish line.
Okay, let's dive into this. Roya calls this vicious cycle the overwhelm trap, and it is the ultimate enemy of progress. The fundamental premise here is that a lack of deliberate focus isn't just, slightly inefficient, it actively sabotages your success. When individuals or even entire teams fall into the trap of trying to do everything all at once, it leads to minimal progress. We end up spreading our cognitive resources so thin that we literally can't make meaningful headway on the things that actually matter. It's like the illusion of productivity. You feel exhausted because you've been running all day, but when you look back, you haven't actually moved forward an inch. This is exactly the trap that Warren Buffett's 5-minute rule is designed to destroy.
So, how do we actually escape the trap? Well, this is the core of Buffett's method, and it boils down to 3 beautifully simple steps. Step 1, take just 5 minutes to write down your top 25 goals. Get the whole shebang out of your head and onto paper. Step 2, review that big list and identify the 5 most critical ones. Circle them, highlight them, whatever you gotta do. These are your absolute top priorities. Now, step 3 is where the magic happens. Actually, scratch that. It's the hardest part. You must eliminate the other 20 completely. No distractions, no split focus. You don't just put them on a back burner for later. You actively avoid them until those top 5 are 100% complete. And this brilliantly illustrates what that split actually looks like. Your 25 goals fall into 2 very different categories. That smaller group is your 5 critical goals. That's your zone of absolute focus. But the real danger lies in that massive group of 20 eliminated goals. What's so fascinating here is the psychology behind those 20 goals. They aren't bad ideas. In fact, they are probably really, really good ideas, which is exactly why they made your top 25 list in the first place. And that is exactly what makes them so dangerous. They're these highly attractive distractions that will steal your time and energy right away from the 5 things that are truly critical. That brings us to a profound philosophical anchor from the text. What you don't focus on is just as important as what you do. I really want that to sink in for a second. We spend so much time obsessed with our to-do lists, but Buffett's method teaches us that we should be equally obsessed with our avoid at all costs list. Intentional ignorance of those 20 other goals is literally the hidden key to success. By actively deciding what you will not spend your time on, it's like you're building a protective fortress around your top 5 priorities. You are choosing deliberate impact over scattered busyness. So exactly why does this strict elimination work so well? Well, it boils down to 3 core benefits. First, it completely prevents distraction from less important tasks. Because you've already categorized them as eliminated, you don't have to waste any precious willpower fighting them off. Second, it prioritizes high-impact activities. You are guaranteeing that 100% of your energy is funneled into the things that actually move the needle. And third, it massively increases your efficiency and decision-making speed. When a random opportunity pops up, you don't have to agonize over it. You just ask, hey, is this part of my top 5? If the answer is no, the decision is made instantly. You say no, and you just move on. Now, here is where this explainer gets really exciting. Setting personal goals is great and all, but what happens when we bring other people into the mix? The source material takes this exact same framework and applies it to humanity's most notorious time waster, the bad corporate meeting. We have all sat in those meetings that just meandered way off topic and left us questioning our life choices, wondering why we were even there in the first place, right? By applying the 5-minute rule to team priorities, we can transform meetings from soul-crushing calendar blocks into highly efficient, focused power sessions. let's move to the actual meeting structure and see how this builds into something super actionable. To fix a broken meeting, you have to realize it actually consists of two distinct phases. There's the preparation before the meeting, which is all about setting priorities. And then there's the execution phase during the meeting, which is entirely about staying focused. You absolutely cannot have a successful execution phase during the meeting if you haven't done the ruthless elimination phase before the meeting even begins. So let's break down exactly what each of these phases requires. Let's look at the prep work before the meeting. Just like with your personal goals, you take 5 minutes beforehand to define the meeting's top objectives. But notice the numbers here. Instead of listing every possible discussion point under the sun, you strictly limit the agenda to the top 3 to 5 key topics that need a resolution. Ask yourself, what are the absolute most critical decisions that have to be made right now? What must we achieve by the time everyone logs off or walks out of that room? And most importantly, just like those 20 eliminated goals, ask yourself what topics can be eliminated entirely or handled outside the meeting. If it can be an email, make it an email. Protect that meeting time for the top 5. Then we get to the execution, during the meeting. This is where you have to act like a bouncer for your own agenda. First rule, limit discussions strictly to those predefined priorities we just established. If someone brings up a new, unexpected topic, assess it quickly. Is it an emergency? If not, table it for another time. Do not let it derail the top 5. Next, as you cover each topic, you gotta assign clear, undeniable action items. Every single participant needs to know exactly what they are doing next. And finally, you always end with a summary of the key takeaways and decisions to ensure absolute alignment before everyone scatters. Which brings us to a really provocative question pulled straight from the source text that I want to leave you with today. Seriously, ask yourself, if a discussion doesn't lead to action, was it really necessary? Whether you are looking at your own daily to-do list, or maybe you're managing a team of 20 people in a conference room, intentionality is everything. If you aren't walking away with a clear action on a critical priority, you've just fallen right back into the overwhelm trap. So, take 5 minutes today. Find your top 5. Be brave enough to eliminate the other 20, and just watch how quickly your focus and productivity transform. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I highly encourage you to start applying this rule to your very next meeting.